Now we've got an interview coming up next from an absolute legend in the dance music scene. Kicked it all off back in 96, 97. And Hawks and Polly brought it over to New Zealand. We'll be talking to the founder of Fevah. Fevah everything. Fevah Records, Fevah the dance party. He's an absolute legend. He's on the phone right now.
Would it be the man who is known as the White Dragon?
The Up FM Future Hit.
Good evening, Eamon. Are you there, mate?
Yeah, I'm here. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. This is Eamon Fevah on the line. Sir, it is an honour to have you on the show.
Well, good, mate. Thanks for having me.
You started Fevah back in 96.
I went on my OE in 96, mate. I got to London in 96, and like most good Kiwis, when we go travelling, we like to party, and it was around that time when a lot of I don't know if many listeners know about things like the Hacienda and places like that in the old rave days in London, in the UK, where there was all the big illegal warehouse raves where they would take over fields, they'd take over farmers' workshops and barns and all sorts, and the cops got really hard on it because there was thousands of people going out to the middle of nowhere, and we got there when they were all coming into the centre of the cities, and there was a lot of underground clubs opening, and it's when on OE there was no real proper clubbing in New Zealand at the time, well, that style anyway, and I was living in a house with about 20 odd other Kiwis, mate, like you do when you go on an OE. Well, we did back then, and one thing led to another, and we met up with a mate in town who was running a little club in the middle of Soho, which is right in the centre of the West End. And after about 3 months, mate, we were starting to pack it out, having a bit of a laugh, and then things, sort of one thing led to another. That was about 1997. And about 6 months later, we ended up running London Astoria, and then Brixton Academy, and a few other places.
So how did it all snowball? Was it all word of mouth, or did you do a lot of promotion?
Back then, mate, the underground, the Kiwi scene, the traveller scene in general, Australians, Kiwis, the Antipodean scene in London, a lot of it was governed by word of mouth, mate. People were living in houses, big traveller houses like we did. I mean, there was 20 in my house. At one point, there was about 29. Now, they were big houses, but then we had like 5 or 6 other houses that were the same. So we all go out. You'd have about 100 to 150 people all going out together. Now, when you're trying to set up an event, something like that, it's quite easy to get a fair few people. And then, word travels fast. And I think the fastest we ever sold, we did London Astoria, which we're very lucky. It's one of the original. It's no longer there now. It's been bowled for the Eurostar, one of the central depots apparently in Tottenham Court Road. And I think we ended up selling about 3,500 tickets in 2 days. And I mean, the place would go off. I mean, it wasn't hard back then. I suppose it was right place, right time. But everyone loved it, mate. It was all fresh. It was new. There was nothing like it in Australia, in New Zealand, South Africa, or anywhere like that. And then I think the locals loved us as well.
And then 2 of you guys made the split to New Zealand, and we started loving you as well.
Well, yeah, mate. Well, I tell you what, that all come about from me getting so many phone calls in the UK with mates that had gone home. A lot of them had been deported for staying too long, and saying, "Hey, we need some more of this at home. Come back." So, Blair Hawks and James Pooley, they were heading homeward, mate. So we come home and sort of set it up. And back then, there was no DJs in New Zealand. Well, not hard house DJs or hard trance or anything like that. So they sort of cut their teeth in the UK a little bit, mate, and learned how to beat match anyway, and then came home, and then, for the next year, I suppose, we'd fly new artists out from the UK, whether they be, because there was a lot of Kiwis learning how to DJ and mix and get into it over there, but we'd get a lot of UK-based people like Skull, Phil Reynolds, all sorts that some of your listeners might not have ever heard of. I mean, Phil probably, but and then it just exploded because now look, you don't need internationals in New Zealand, mate, because as true blue Kiwis do, we try and do it better than everyone else.
And we often manage it most of the time as well.
We do, mate. We do.
Including Fevah Records as well, which came about 10 years ago, which is the same time.
That was, mate. That was something we tinkered with, mate. At the time, there was we were putting on so many parties, and a lot of the guys said, well, we want to have a go at this. And, yeah, I think it's just sort of spread. It was a natural progression.
Well, it sounds like you had a lot on your plate.
What's that?
It sounds like you had a lot on your plate.
Well, we did, but it was, you know, that was what we were doing full time for a job. I mean, it was a party to start with for fun, and then it became, you know, business. I think we ended up doing Fevah in something like 17 countries.
And Fevah Records have have featured some of the biggest names in hard dance: Steve Blake, Illogic, Paul Glasby.
Well, yeah, I mean, pretty much you name it. You know, Lisa Lashes right through. Yogi by Mechanica, you know, Lab 4, people like that. I mean, I think they were all coming up at the same time, because Hard House in its form now has changed so many times. I mean, the name Hard Dance came about because the combination of putting trance and Hard House. I mean, that's where that came from. And then there's so many people, because back when we started, you either went to a hard house party, and hard house was proper hard house. It was house music that had a really hard edge to it. And then you had trance, which was more psych trance. There was a lot of Goa trance at the time. There was lots of people coming back and forth from India, and that's where that got infused. And then we combined the two. We were the first people in the UK, in the London dance scene, to actually do that. And we got laughed at for a bit because the trance scene was very crusty. You know, there was a lot of the
whistles and fluoro.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, get married in a
lollipops.
daisy ring, that kind of thing. But and then you had the hard house scene was very more well dressed. It was exactly what the house scene is now. You know, and the two combined, and of course throw the Kiwis and South Africans who don't mind sweating it out, mate, and it went off.
Absolutely, and why wouldn't it as well? It's logical, really.
Definitely.
So, you invented a new genre when you brought out all this new records. What do you think about your new tune? Is it what genre would you call it?
What, the new one that's just about to come out?
Yep, the one we're not supposed to play yet.
Rhythms of the Universe. I don't know, it's just a mixture, mate. You know, I like everything. You know, haunting big synth lines, mate. Good, tough underlying bass lines. I mean, it's not rewriting any musical recipes. It's just Fevah's ethos behind music was extreme fun and 100% dance. And as long as you keep to that kind of recipe, we've always felt you'd always have a bloody good time and you have good music.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Eamon.
Good on you, mate. Thanks for having me on.
Nice work, mate.
Hold on. Hey, just a quickie, mate. Anyone who wants the new tracks, go straight to southerncrossmusic.co.nz and you'll be able to get them straight there before they go anywhere else.
Live on the phone, the founder of Fevah. Get along to Southern Cross Music and pick up all the massive stuff that those guys are working on. They've been around for 10 years. This is their brand new tune. It's Craig G and Eamon Fevah, the Hot Shots future hit, Rhythms of the Universe, the Sheldon Ives remix. Turn this one up. It's Hot Shots.
The Up FM future hit.